Welcome to Data Points, a production of the UVA School of Data Science, and I'm Ken Ono, your host for this episode, and the STEM advisor to the provost, the Marvin Rosenblum Professor of Mathematics, and Professor of Data Science by courtesy. Big data. It's in the air, and at UVA, data science is popping up everywhere, with research collaborations across disciplines, from engineering to law to medicine to all the STEM fields. It's indisputably everywhere in scholarship and research. And physically, the School of Data Science is emerging from the earth, taking shape at the corner of Emmett and Ivy. And, of course, all of this is happening because in the real world, as if UVA isn't the real world, in the real world, data science is booming. Jobs in data science grew by 37% last year, marking the third straight year of such unprecedented growth. So how is UVA responding to this growth? Well, actually, we're ahead of the pack. We've been awarding master's degrees and PhDs in data science, and at the undergraduate level, there are today 640 who's minoring in data science. And moving forward, there's more good news on the way. Pending approval from the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia, UVA will soon be offering Bachelor's of Science degrees in data science. Now, on podcasts like this, I usually talk about research, significant achievements in science. But today is a little bit different. I want this episode to be a celebration of the student athletes, synchronized to celebrate what I think is the imminent approval of the bachelor's program. Now, it's been my distinct privilege to help the effervescent Coach DeSorbo. If you've never met him before, and you might think the word effervescent is a bit strange, well, if you met him, you'd know this like the perfect word. It's been my privilege to help effervescent coach Todd DeSorbo and his staff with the swim team. We've been applying mathematics, physics, and quantitative analytics in pursuit of athletic perfection. How good are his who's? Well, the women's team have won 3 consecutive national championships. I predict, maybe I almost want to say I know, I predict that they will win their 4th consecutive national title in 2024. Don't take my word for it, just do a brief search of news sites, Google it, to add further context, and what you'll discover are news stories galore about Olympic and World Championship medals. So to celebrate all of this, the undergraduate program and graduate program in data science and student athletics, we're joined today by 3 UVA swimmers who are currently pursuing graduate degrees in data science fields. Outside their scholarship, they've put data science to use in their personal pursuit of athletic perfection. They're here because they're outstanding students and, well, they're also champions who bring honor to UVA in the swimming pool. So joining us today, Will Tenpas. He's a first-year graduate student in the School of Data Science. He graduated with honors from Duke in the spring, where he was the captain of Duke's swim team. He's using his 5th and last year of NCAA eligibility here at UVA. Will, welcome to Data Points.
Howdy, thank you for having me.
August Lamb. I think your teammates call you Goose.
That's right.
Okay. Well, August, he is someone who I think will be familiar to those in the UVA community. He is a first-year graduate school student in the School of Data Science. He is a 5-time All-American, and in 2022, he was the anchor of UVA's American Record 200 Freestyle Relay team. He, too, is using his 5th and last year of NCAA eligibility, and he'll be swimming for Coach DeSorbo 1 more year and the Who's. August, welcome to Data Points.
Happy to be here, Dr. Ono. Thank you for having us.
And Kate Douglas. Kate is a first-year graduate student in statistics. What do you think about when you hear the words big data? Well, maybe you think about the human genome. Maybe Amazon or Facebook data. Well, I think you might also add Kate's achievements to this list because it is a big data set. And that's not pun intended. Here's a question. Does anyone know how many national championships Kate has won? Let's just say a lot. And well-known television commentators refer to her as the GOAT. She is NCAA Swimmer of the Year, Olympic medalist, world champion, multiple NCAA academic All-American. Kate, first year graduate student in statistics, welcome to Data Points.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Will, welcome to UVA.
Thank you.
I could start by saying why Duke, but welcome to UVA. So what drew you to UVA School of Data Science?
Yeah, so for me, I studied mechanical engineering undergrad, and I really enjoyed working on physical products and things that existed in the real world. But I kind of felt like as I progressed through my degree, I needed more and more experience on the software side and the coding side of things. And when I saw
things like in the real world, do you mean cars, race cars? Do you mean airplanes? What do you mean?
Cars, drones, planes. I like things that fly a lot. But I'm also interested in entrepreneurship a lot. So that's a lot of product development, product management. And so I've kind of realized you really need to be fluent on both sides of like being able to analyze the stress on a real product that's experiencing real forces, but also be able to understand the code that's underlying a lot of the electronics behind things, because there's really no such thing as like a purely mechanical project anymore. So for me, I was really looking to find something more in computer science, and I've been pretty interested in entrepreneurship. I've worked on some of my own businesses and things like that, and kind of looking at computer science through a statistical lens, I think is a really interesting perspective.
And why UVA then? Why the School of Data Science?
Yeah, I mean, I was drawn to the program largely, like looking at the curriculum. It's super applied and it's very fast paced. I was looking for a 1-year program that would tie in with using the last year of eligibility. And then on the swimming side, Todd's obviously built like a pretty amazing program and an amazing coaching staff. And so I was really excited to get to use my last year as an athlete, because I think being an athlete is a pretty unique experience to the current state of my life where I'm at. I probably won't ever get to pursue something like this again. And so I was really excited to get to use that year.
Yeah. Well, welcome. August, you just graduated from UVA a few months ago. What's it like being on grounds now as a first-year graduate student? It's like a different universe, right?
I mean, honestly, I don't feel too different so far. It's, I'm still going to class every day, still got, practice morning and night. So it's not super different, at least yet. It's a little bit, I don't want to say lonelier, but it's a little different without our full class here. We were a class of 18 to start, and
on the swim team,
yeah. Yes. And we're down to, I guess it's 5 now, I think. We have
people have graduated. Yeah.
Yes, most of these people have graduated. So the people who remain, it's me, Kate, we have Maddie Donahoe, Ella Nelson, and we've gained Will and Jasmine Nascentini from Northwestern. But to your question, I it still feels like UVA to me, which is good, because I've loved it here, and I'm so happy that I've got the chance to spend a 5th year in Charlottesville, swimming, going to school. It's been an amazing experience. I didn't feel done with it yet, so happy to be back.
Well, welcome back. Now, as a graduate student, if I understand it correctly, don't you have a room on the range, right? What's that like?
I do, yeah.
And for listeners, maybe tell them what the range is.
Yeah. So the range is similar to the lawn. They're both considered to be a part of Thomas Jefferson's academical village. And basically, they are the rooms that line the lawn and the rotunda. Those are the lawn rooms. And then the range rooms are similar, but they face the opposite direction, and they're reserved for graduate students. And they are single occupant. They're not necessarily original, but they're some of the oldest student housing on grounds.
So I think I can picture it. How far away are you from the Edgar Allan Poe room? Are you on that side? Are you like 2 doors down?
No, I'm on the east side. Poe is in 13 West. I'm on the east side of the range, so it's a little bit quieter over there. We're not lined up with McCormick Road, but it's pretty nice. I've got some awesome neighbors. I've been trying my best to balance social circles with data science, swimming, and now the range. But I've got some wonderful neighbors, and the room itself, it takes some getting used to. A lot of people know that there's no bathroom in the range rooms. You have to kind of walk, a decent ways to go to a shared bathroom. That's taken some getting used to, but the good news is that they have finally installed air conditioning in those rooms. So that was one big drawback that they have that they've fixed, and thank God too, because it's been really hot for the past couple weeks.
It has, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You should study that in a data set. Kate, I'm really not sure where to start with you. Like August, you just graduated from UVA in the spring with your degree in statistics. You've had quite a summer. Tell us.
Yeah, it was a really busy summer for me. I guess first I made world championships this summer. I got to represent the U.S. in Japan, which is always an honor, and that was a lot of fun. We first went to Singapore for a 2-week training camp beforehand, so that was my first time in Singapore, and then we went to Japan. So it was a lot of traveling, a lot of great experiences that I'm so grateful I was able to have. And then, World Championships was so far my most successful international meet. I came home with 6 medals, 4 from relays and 2 individual. And I won my first individual international gold medal, which was really exciting. And then along with all of that, I was also doing an internship with Dell Technologies.
Wait, while you were swimming, you were doing an internship for Dell?
Yes.
Like as in the Dell computer company?
Yes, correct.
Okay, tell us.
Yeah. So this was something that I was planning kind of throughout the year before the summer approached, knowing that I wanted to do an internship while still swimming, but obviously I couldn't go travel somewhere for a full internship. So I made a plan with Dell and I did a remote internship with them, and it was, the full 12-week thing, but we knew that I would have about 2 to 3 weeks off in July for World Championships if I made it. So we planned around that, and it was remote and also part-time, so not 40 hours a week, but around 20 hours a week of work. So,
and you were doing statistics? They gave you a project?
Yeah, so I had a project that I worked on with the Enterprise Resiliency Group for the whole summer, and the plan was to finish that project before World Championships, which I did, and then I prepared for my presentation at the end of the summer after the meet.
What was that like? Did you give a presentation to like a board, company board?
Yeah, I mean, since it was remote, there were a few remote interns and we all gave a presentation. It was about a 15-minute presentation on a Zoom call with about 50 to 60 members of Dell who watched. So that was definitely a new experience for me. I'm not used to giving presentations. I never really had to give a lot in class, especially on my own. So that was something that I was excited to try and was definitely nervous, but it went well and I was really happy with that. And it was definitely just an overall great experience to get to apply, my statistics knowledge to real world stuff.
So you need a vacation from your summer vacation.
Yes.
August, how'd you spend your summer?
It was pretty much identical to Kate's, actually. I won a bunch of gold medals in Japan. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, I was there.
I did. We did go on like an international trip though, which was a lot of fun. It was
you and a bunch of friends.
It was most of our class who graduated this past May. We went to Europe for 2.5 to 3 weeks. The guys had a slightly different itinerary than the women, but we did meet up in a couple different places. And that trip was a ton of fun.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, we started in Portugal. Actually, I guess we started in London, but we were only there for a couple hours. We went and saw the Eye and Big Ben and all that. And then we had to hop on a flight and get to Portugal. Pretty quick turnaround there. But we spent a couple days in Lisbon, and from there we went to Valencia in Spain, and we met up with the women's team there for a couple days. We had a quick stopover in Ibiza, and then went to Switzerland right after that, which was probably my favorite part of the trip. It's just beautiful there.
Like Zurich or Lausanne?
We were in the Interlaken area.
Oh yeah.
So the Lauterbrunnen Valley, if you've ever heard of it, but it was just beautiful there. And from there, we drove to Cinque Terre in Italy. And that, it was pretty cool driving down the, Italian coast. That was a stick shift car, which was my responsibility to drive. And that was an interesting experience that I'll save for another time.
Limoncello?
Yes, limoncello, really good. But yeah, driving down was a pretty cool experience, and we stayed for a couple days in Cinque Terre before heading on to Rome. And We did a bike tour of the city, which was a ton of fun, and that was my final stop. Unfortunately, I had to leave a little bit early to get back to Charlottesville for orientation to the data science program. But the rest of them continued on to Croatia for a couple of days and then headed back home.
So I know, just like Kate, you have quite a bit of internship experience, and Will said a moment ago he had been working with some startups. What about your work?
Yep. So this summer I was a little bit too busy for an internship, just given that school was starting up so quickly after graduation. But for the previous 2 summers, I've done, in 2021, I did a virtual internship with a consulting firm out of Richmond, which was in software development. And then last summer, I was able to get back to an in-person internship with a company called Willow Tree in Charlottesville, and they're a boutique software development firm. I wasn't in a development role there. I transitioned a little bit more over to product management, which was a new experience for me. But it was a really valuable experience, and I think that it gave me a lot of insight into the software development process, not necessarily being the one who is building, but the one who is enabling the entire team to build these products for, at least in Willow Tree's case, some pretty major companies.
So you were assisting in the process of producing and managing apps, right? And you said some significant companies. What companies can you share?
Yeah. Well, they have a pretty large portfolio. Some of the ones that people would recognize would be HBO Max, Fox Weather, Pepsi. I'm pretty sure that they built Domino's entire ordering system as well. So they've got some serious, cred. It was, the people there were extremely welcoming and insightful, and I learned a ton while I was there. And, it was overall just a really great experience.
Will, same question. I know we're going to get to statistics and more academic stuff, but it's fun getting to meet people. So Will, same question. How did you spend your summer?
Yeah, it was pretty similar to August. I graduated in May, and then a couple days after graduation, we flew to Europe as well, and then we just took trains around basically and stayed in hostels.
Euro-Rail pass.
Yeah, you can get it for probably like 120 euros, and we took probably 8 or 9 trains over the whole time. So it's a pretty good deal. You meet weird characters on it too. So that was a ton of fun, and then our school started back in June, so I had a little bit of time at home, and then moved down here, got settled, took over August's room because he moved to the range, and I took his room over, and then spent a bunch of time training, kind of getting back in shape. I wasn't in the water a ton in the spring, so I got back in shape and then raced a meet at the end of July.
Well, let's get to the school part. So Kate, August, Will, the three of you, you're all first-year graduate students, and it's a different level of work, right? It's a different level of work, and you end up focusing. So August and Will, you're in the School of Data Science, and Kate, you're a first-year graduate student in a master's program in statistics. So for each of you, same sort of questions, one by one. What do you each wish to get out of your graduate work? What are your plans for the future, say post-graduation? Will, you first.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing I want to get out of this is just getting a lot of hands-on experience with projects. The school does a really good job of giving us a lot of ways to work on real data sets and to draw real conclusions.
And there's a famous capstone project, right?
Yeah.
Where you work with a company, right?
Yeah, so it all kind of builds to this capstone that takes almost the entire year. So I'm hoping to really get a lot of value out of that. I had similar experiences with engineering undergrad, and I just felt like that gave me a lot of direction in figuring out what I enjoyed working on and what kind of, got me excited to get out of bed in the morning. I think long term, I'd be really excited to kind of be an entrepreneur, which is a very broad term. But I think I really enjoy kind of working on businesses. I really like the pace of smaller startups. I worked at one at Duke for 3 years and have done some of my own stuff too. And so the goal is kind of to walk out of this with a skill set that can apply to business. It can apply to building a more technical product, and can make me a more well-rounded engineer and creator.
Well, great. Well, you're very articulate, so I think you're on your way. August, same question. What do you want to get out of your master's program? and after graduation, plans or dreams for the future?
Yeah. Well, of course, the ultimate goal is to get a job. That's long term.
And your first job, by the way, isn't necessarily your last job.
Of course.
Yeah.
No,
this is a change from maybe how your parents viewed the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so undergraduate, I majored in computer science, and I actually did the data science minor as well. And that kind of gave me a taste for the field, and I felt like it was something that, first of all, is in pretty high demand right now. But second, it just kind of piqued my interest. Some of the classes that were not necessarily designed to really hammer in the deep concepts, but to give kind of like a broad, understanding of, data science and allow
the minor courses. What were your favorite ones? Tell us.
So I'd say my favorite class probably was communicating with data, and that was because it kind of introduced the concept of cloud computing. That was at least a large unit that we did. Mm-hmm. And that I took a class on cloud computing for computer science as well, and the entire concept is just fascinating. It's genius, really, and I've really enjoyed being able to learn how to spin up a data pipeline within the cloud, and I thought that probably that is something that I'm going to want to integrate into my work in the future.
Yeah, it's really remarkable to hear you say this. I was growing up in high school in the 80s, and what we called high tech or what we called big data in the 80s is so prehistoric compared to the things that are available to us today. I remember having a video game system, and it was the first video game system where you could end a game and have the machine remember where you were in the game when it ended, so that you didn't have to go back to stage one when you started, as if that was like the most amazing thing ever. So yeah, I get it. As I mentioned earlier, jobs in data science are growing at an astronomical rate. And so when you first said, yeah, I'd like to get a job, dream a bit, because I think the opportunities will be there, and you'll want to choose those that you're genuinely passionate about. One where work isn't work and where job isn't a job. It's where you get to put your skills to use in something that you think matters.
The pace of it is funny that you mentioned.
The pace, yeah.
We've even had in some of our classes over the summer where we'll get an assignment, and then halfway between the start date and the due date, one of the software features completely changes, or the payment plan changes, or the data set is no longer accessible. There was a day where we were doing a live demo, and quite literally the data was not accessible halfway through the demo.
Oh wow. Yeah, the world changes at an incredible rate. Yeah. And there isn't always a reset. In fact, that's one of the things that we've all learned coming out of COVID, for example, how to be resilient, how to be flexible. I think those aren't skills that you want to earn that way, right? But certainly this generation, I'm really impressed. Kate, same question. What do you wish to get out of your graduate work? And your plans for the future, short and long term.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say the main reason why I decided to pursue a master's in statistics was because I wanted to stay here and continue training through 2024 at least. And I didn't want to just swim. It was important to me to also kind of further a career outside of swimming along, because I won't swim forever. And so, I decided to pursue a master's in statistics, and I'm taking 4 semesters to finish it instead of the usual 2 to 3, because I don't want to be overwhelmed by the work. I mean, I know that it's, master's classes are definitely a lot more difficult than undergraduate. There's a lot more work involved. So I didn't want to overwhelm myself while still training full time. But I'm definitely just excited to improve upon my knowledge from undergrad in statistics. And I just want to become more confident in my skills. And I guess just kind of learn how to apply everything to real world things. But I would say immediate goal, is swimming through Paris 2024 and trying to make that team. And then also, continuing with my studies next year too.
Are there sectors in business that appeal to you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess when I think about a job that I'd want in the future, I think of just like, I want to be a data analyst of some kind, and that's such a broad term. And I mean, I think going into, a field of sports possibly interests me, or I mean, I enjoyed working for a technology company this summer, Dell. That was enjoyable and interesting. But I feel like I kind of don't know exactly where I'd want to end up yet. That's definitely something I'm thinking about.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to hear answers to questions like this. So, Will, as you were saying, there are a number of areas in which you could do a capstone project, right? So it could be, it could be in banking, it could be in finance, it could be in athletics, it could be in engineering. And this touches on something I said at the outset, that data science literally is like everywhere. And I don't think we can overstate the fact that most of the world thinks they're not good at working with numbers. And so it's a pretty good field to go into, right? So good for all of you. So in preparing for this conversation, I was kind of thinking about what it was like when I was maybe roughly your age. And so what did that make me think of? Well, I went to college in the 80s. None of you were alive. But there was a point in time when it was the 1980s, right? It's just not some abstract thing. I lived through it.
Take your word for it.
Yeah, your parents, they probably about my age. And I can say that there were a few courses that I took in math that really played an important role in making me, in the sense that had I not taken those courses, I don't think I would have either had the confidence or the know-how to become a graduate student. So for me, this was a year-long class at the University of Chicago called Math 207-209, Honors Analysis. And I'd like to think of it as the one course out of the many that I took, but it was really the one course where I learned to walk and talk and really think about rigorous mathematics. And it's the course where I genuinely learned the importance of attention to detail. So for each of you, I'm sure you had such a class in college. You don't go to graduate school unless you have the confidence to work on things at a much deeper level. So I just want to say your answers to the question, what class stands out for you in college that helped you have the confidence to pursue graduate work for the benefit of those students a few years younger than you? August.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people will talk about, the one or two college classes that kind of changed their perspective, really had a serious impact on them. I think for me, that was probably, it was an introductory physics course. I took it my first and second year because there were two parts to the course. It was called
2 semesters split between years 1 and 2.
Yes. It was called How Things Work, and it was taught by Lou Bloomfield and Gordon Cates. The course was designed by Lou, who a lot of people at UVA will recognize as the Lou from Lou's List.
Lou's List. What kind of guy? So I only know him from the list. What kind of guy is he?
He kind of surprised me because the first day in that class, I walked in, and it was probably one of the first classes I ever took at UVA because I was a first semester. And I walked in, and he greeted me by name. And
how many students were in the class?
Probably 300. It was a massive class. And he must have spent a significant amount of time because I was watching him as more students were coming in. And he was greeting them all by name. And I was like, oh, my God. Anyway,
that's amazing.
It impressed me.
That is amazing.
And that, I think, partially that had a big impact on me because I had a ton of respect for that he would put the effort in to memorize the class roster and to know everyone by name. So obviously I liked the professor a ton. He designed the class extremely well. And it honestly changed how I think about the world. And I don't say that lightly. It sounds a little bit, cheesy, but I walk around grounds now and I'll see various things happening that I, before taking this class may have just ignored. And then after taking this class, I'll be like, wow, I understand what's going on here. I understand the physics behind this, mundane thing that's going on just, as I'm walking past it. And that inspired me to take another class, which was physics-based. I'm obviously not a physics or necessarily even a math guy, but I took another class through the astronomy department on black holes, which I know that you are somewhat of
I know something. Yeah.
You know a thing or two about black holes. And I actually got made fun of by a lot of people on the team because I would be talking about this class a lot in the pool or in the weight room, and they'd just be like, why are you talking about black holes right now? And it's because...
Oh, yeah, I want to hear this.
Well, the content was just fascinating, and I didn't brush up on like my notes or anything before this, so I don't have like specific examples of it, but it was an entire semester of learning about like the physics of space and how black holes are, created, how they, are born, live, and die, and what, implications that has on other, massive bodies in space, like neutron stars, just the class was awesome. And I think it's interesting to me that I'm not a physics major, but consistently the physics classes that I've taken at UVA have been my favorite.
So it's interesting. I know I really shouldn't go off here in this direction, but I think we all should care about black holes. Why? Because I think the fundamental question that we really don't understand about the universe is the process that underlies gravity. I've got these glasses here. If I let go of them, they're going to fall down. And I know they're going to fall, but I can't explain to you why that happens. We can use mathematics to locate planets, right? People did that, right? But those same laws, and I'm speaking of Newton's laws of gravity, only work well in certain ranges, certain domains. And so, it's the fundamental question, and we can't answer it. Yeah. Okay, Kate. Class that transformed you. UVA Stat, maybe. What class transformed you?
Yeah. I have a class in mind. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite class, but it was definitely the class that made me switch into being a statistics major, because I originally came into UVA thinking I wanted to do computer science because I took a few computer science classes in high school, and I found that really interesting. And I was always good at math, and I loved stat in high school, but I kind of graduated high school, saying to myself, I'm never going to take a math class ever again.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That probably hurts you. It was math was one of my, best subjects in high school. And I loved statistics, but it was also kind of in high school, it was all math based. And then I took here at UVA, I took Stat 1601, which I think was Intro to Statistics with R. And I really loved that class because it kind of introduced me to using computing programming for statistics work, and I didn't really know that was like a thing. I kind of thought you had to do computer science to work, with languages like R and Python. And I really enjoyed working in RStudio in that class, and I've continued using RStudio in pretty much most of my classes, and I really like that. And so I'd say that class that made me, switch my kind of mindset of wanting to do computer science to wanting to do statistics, which was a mix of, my interests and also my strengths in school.
Will, same question.
Yeah, so I had two immediately come to mind, and one was actually even before college, and that was AP BC Calculus. And I had a fantastic teacher named Miss Pascal, and that was kind of the first course I took in math, where I think that's a class that a lot of people, August was shaking his head, a lot of people either really enjoy it or really dislike it. And the way Miss Pascal taught it, she brought in all these real world examples, and it kind of just opened my mind to thinking of math and just an analytical mindset in general. It's kind of a toolkit that you have. And that really, I think, is what pushed me to actually look into these classes much more going into college. And then it was honestly a very similar experience I had my junior year. I took a class it was like Fundamentals of Mechanical Engineering Design with a professor named Becky Simmons, who was super involved. And it was kind of, again, a little bit in a more specific mindset of thinking about mechanical engineering problems, but it was thinking about things like failure modes and applying factors of safety and all these little details that I had never really thought. And they were applied on real systems like bridges that were on campus and things like that. And I think for me, both of them they had this really cool effect of kind of grounding this very analytical, abstract mindset in something that was very real and very exciting. And that is really what kind of kept me in the STEM side and helps me get excited about courses that are a bit more abstract.
Great. Well, nobody said honors analysis, but we all had our own favorite courses. So I want to shift gears here. This will be, I think, super fun. As I mentioned earlier, it's been a privilege for me to help Todd and the UVA swim team here at UVA. It's just been fun. And one of the reasons it has been fun for me is that I've been able to work with some student interns. You probably know them. UVA 2022 alum Jerry Liu, he's still working with me. He was a student intern helping with the swim analytics. He's now a graduate student at MIT. And two recent grads, Sean Conway and J.C. Yeager, also on the swim team. They helped out a lot last year in some of the work that we do. And some of that work had international implications as well. So as students specializing in data science and statistics, before we get into what you'll be doing this year moving forward, when you first heard about all of that, what did you think? August.
Yeah. So I think when I first heard about this, it was probably around the time COVID happened, maybe a little bit after. And nobody had ever analyzed my stroke before. I had never heard of anyone, doing that type of work, at least at the level that, I was used to being at. And when I heard that you were going to be coming in and analyzing people, I think at first I was probably a little bit skeptical. And that's just because swimming is not necessarily a major sport. And I was not used to hearing that people were putting resources in to, really try to move the sport and these athletes forward. But, after doing some research and looking and seeing the work that you'd done in the past. I know that you worked with Andrew Wilson when you were at Emory before. And he, I believe, was a walk-on who you worked on his breaststroke with him, and he was able to make it to the Olympic Games. And so that was kind of an eye-opener for me, like, actually this could be a real opportunity here. So I was very excited after, doing a little research, looking into it and thinking, this could be a really great opportunity for the team and not just for UVA, but for the national team, who I know that you work with as well. So, after a couple of years of observing this and seeing the work that you've done with Andrew and with Paige Madden, one of our own, and the Walshes and Kate, it's been really impressive, and it's something that I am really excited to be a part of.
Yeah, let's get to that. Now, as graduate students, the three of you wear very different hats. Okay, and as scientists, you're all earning some sort of course credit for using statistics and data analytics to help out swimming. So tell us about that. So Kate, what are you going to be doing in your coursework to help the UVA swim team?
Yeah, so I'm going to be working with the distance group this year, and we're going to be using sensors, and the distance swimmers are going to be wearing these sensors while they swim. And I'll be tracking that data and helping the coaches kind of analyze it and figure out what is the best training plan for each of these individual swimmers to kind of help just improve the distance program here. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of getting to use my statistics and analytic knowledge and apply that to swimming, because I've never really done that before. I think it'll be, a great experience for me and also for the coaches and the team as a whole.
So what kind of statistics do you imagine that you'll be keeping track of?
Yeah, so talking to the coaches already, we've talked about how heart rate.
So this is Coach Blair.
Yeah, Coach Blair. We talked about how heart rate is kind of her main focus that she wants to look at for practices and races, and she wants to know just kind of how long each swimmer kind of stays in a certain heart rate zone throughout a practice. And I think also along with that, we'll be looking at, just power and distance per stroke and kind of the efficiency of swimming throughout the season and how your efficiency improves in different training cycles.
Great. So you're like the chief data science for the distance group.
Yeah.
Now, so it's kind of funny, since you don't swim distance,
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine your friends kind of giving you a hard time as being the, what did I say, the chief data scientist, right? It's
Yeah.
going to be amusing.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. But I would say, working with the coaches, it'll be definitely a different experience. But I think it's good for me to kind of not analyze my own data or do anything that relates to me. So I think it'll be good.
Right. Will, August, you're taking a graduate course, Data Science 6,993. And what are you guys going to do in this course in terms of independent study work to help the swim team?
Yeah, so it's started off with us just getting comfortable with reading the data that we're collecting.
And what data is that?
It's the acceleration data, so coming from a sensor that's on the swimmer. And so we're learning initially just how to read that acceleration data, which looks like graphs with a bunch of funny peaks on it.
Very complicated though, right?
Yeah. And I know there's a lot with gyroscopes involved in the accelerometer so that you have all three directions of acceleration. So really learning how to parse through that data, and then eventually we'll get to put video to it so that once we've built up the intuition from reading the graphs, we can expand to a video analysis. And then from there, our project has been dubbed Paris 2024.
What do you think about that, August? Paris, what does that mean?
Well, I think we're going to be working on the Los Angeles Olympics at that point. No. So basically, the way I understand it, we're going to be assisting you in running the battery of tests that are used to analyze the strokes of our Olympic hopefuls and NCAA and ACC contenders.
Yeah.
And as Will said, we're going to be looking at accelerometer data and eventually, identifying the inefficiencies, pairing that up with video analysis, and identifying what could be improved in each swimmer's stroke so as to optimize their technique before these major events coming up in 2024.
Right, and I think it's important to say that none of us are coaches. You're athletes, so you're not, right? But the idea is to offer insight that can assist this world-class coaching staff, help each swimmer achieve their very best.
Right.
And they're really quite good at it. Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes from being able to see things that are hard to see with the naked eye.
Oh, yeah.
From an above ground angle.
Right. Time is short, so I don't think we'll go into explicit examples for that. But you're right. What you can see with the eye, or more importantly, what you cannot see with the eye, but are sources of inefficiency, are almost always captured with these sensors. So August and Kate, we're wrapping up here. For both of you, as students on their way to becoming double who's, tell us quickly your favorite non-swimming memory of UVA.
I would say my favorite non-swimming memory would probably have to be graduation weekend back in the spring. Just all together, I think that was just an amazing weekend to celebrate the 4 years that my class spent at UVA, and it was just so much fun, and UVA has so many amazing traditions, and I was just so happy that I didn't have to leave just yet. So yeah, that was one of the best weekends I think I've ever had.
Yeah, that was definitely a fun weekend. I think mine is sort of related. It's not necessarily a single memory, but it's more like, a group of memories that, come from just the time that we've spent with our class over the past 4 years. It's been a really special group, and we've had so many amazing times together, whether it's at, travel meets, just hanging around Seville, or on one of our infrequent class trips. We've had some fun times over the past couple of years, but that's something that is going to be a little bit different this year, given that we're a smaller group. But I'm definitely, really looking forward to reconnecting with everyone else when they come to meets. We have an amazing alumni base that comes to our home meets pretty much, all the time. But then specifically with our class, just, getting back together, having future class trips, and making sure that we stay connected.
So, Will, we don't want to gang up on you because you went to Duke. So a different question for you, but there's only one right answer. Basketball, UVA or Duke?
All I'll say is I'm walking out happy either way, because if UVA wins, the people around me are happy. If Duke wins, then I'll be happy alone in my room.
Good answer. Well, time is short. Just one last question. What do all of you think about the imminent approval of the Bachelor's of Science degree in data science here at UVA? Kate?
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. And I'm honestly jealous that kids coming into UVA now have the chance to major in data science because I totally would major in data science if I had the chance to a few years ago.
Will?
I think it's a pretty special opportunity. I know a lot of the first years on our team are already looking at it and asking us a lot of questions about it.
Yeah,
August,
I remember hearing about the establishment of the school back when I was in high school, and thinking that's what I wanted to do when I got here. And unfortunately, it wasn't ready on time, but I was able to minor in it, and now I'm in the master's. But I absolutely, given the opportunity, would have wanted to do a major in data science.
Well, great. Well, there you have it. So that was our celebration episode of Data Points. Thank you, Kate, August, and Will. The three of you are extraordinary role models, student athletes, and go Who's.